Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about The Handmaid's Tale Season 2, Episode 9. It is called Smart Power. Full spoilers for the episode, as always. So this episode, we have Waterford and Serena going to Canada for a diplomatic mission. Diplomatic immunity. I'm sorry, I can't say diplomatic without thinking of the bad guy from Lethal Weapon 2.
To be fair, the woman basically says that at one point. I half expected her to just, outright reference it.
If she says diplomatic immunity, I don't think that's a reference to Lethal Weapon. As much as it might make us think Lethal Weapon 2.
No, but I feel like now everyone just thinks of that. So I don't feel like I've ever, in the last 5 years, no one says diplomatic immunity without doing a voice with it.
I feel like this is an echo chamber. I feel like in our nerd circles, sure. I don't think the world at large thinks of Lethal Weapon 2 when they hear the phrase diplomatic immunity.
I don't know. I think it's spread.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I don't expect average Joes to be saying it.
I'm just saying, Family Guy did a whole thing with it.
Did Family Guy spread it? Okay.
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
I think I remember Family Guy doing a whole thing with it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it did. Maybe if it was in the first 5 seasons, it did. But we're way beyond the first 5 seasons of that show now. So
yeah.
But yeah. So we have this trip to Canada, and immediately I'm like, oh. Okay, we have characters in Canada. How's this going to run to each other? Who's going to see who? Who's going to play off of who? And everyone kind of played, everyone saw everyone, basically, by the time we got to the end of the episode. So that was exciting. I almost thought we were going to leave June completely. After the first couple of scenes with her, I thought, oh, maybe we won't see her. Maybe we'll just follow the other characters into Canada, and it'll just be them for the whole episode. That was a possibility. That was not the case.
Funny, because this episode made me realise that June might be the least interesting character on the show for me.
Okay.
Like, every time we've done one of these episodes where, we kind of leave her aside and we go somewhere else and focus on other people, I've found I've enjoyed those on the whole more, and the character stuff more.
Fair enough. I can't agree with that, but yeah.
Right. I get that. June's still the emotional core. Don't get me wrong, but I think the other characters are just more interesting when I'm away doing other things.
Like I say, I can't agree with that, but that's a personal taste thing more than anything. So we go to Canada, and even before we get to Canada, there's a beautiful amount of little moments in this episode that really stuck out to me for various reasons. One, of course, was when Waterford is leaving, because he brings June down, and they come in, and there's a guardian there. It's like, oh yeah, we're leaving, and he doesn't trust anyone. And he's not. Instead of leaving Serena, because as much as he says, oh, I want you to come and be like the model wife and show them what a wife in Gilead is. Women aren't oppressed here. You're going to prove that for me. Which has its own dark dramatic irony, given what she went through last episode, and given what she is now maybe starting to realize. That now that she But the moment specifically that really caught me was the flinch.
Yeah, when she's in the greenhouse.
Yeah, and there's this little shriek, and I'm like, oh, okay, we've crossed a point of no return here.
She's terrified of him now.
Yeah, the mood and atmosphere in this house now, not that it was particularly pleasant before, but it's reached this point where even Serena is absolutely terrified of her husband. And that is just, it's opening so many doors here. And, so as much as he's saying it's for all these diplomatic reasons, part of me still also thinks he doesn't trust her to be alone here.
No, of course not. The last time she was alone, she kind of ran things and did whatever she wanted.
Yeah.
I don't think she can be trusted after that.
Yeah, and then, so Serena's journey, going to Canada, there's that sequence in the car as she's watching, everyone outside in the street, and there's, people walking around, like normal life, like that we have now. There's kissing, there's checking phones, there's laughter. There's the one negative thing at the end with the homeless people, and that's almost the thing for her to cling on to at the end, because she's almost she's witnessing all this. Oh, I remember this life. Everyone seems happy, and then the homeless people. Oh, yeah, we got rid of that. That's why we did this. This was worth it. Yeah, I'll convince myself.
And so this scene doesn't work with that last episode.
Oh, absolutely. Because there's a couple of scenes later on as well that would have worked on this episode on their own, but are amplified enormously by not just last episode, but a few previous episodes this season.
I feel this one just wouldn't work at all because, before last week we had no sympathy for her. Whereas here, she's looking out of this, and there's you can see the regret, and she's like, okay, maybe
Yeah.
I've done something wrong, and you feel bad for her. Whereas you couldn't have done that before last week.
I don't know if I'd go as far as to say sympathy.
Hmm?
I think sympathy's maybe strong. Given what she's done, sympathy's maybe a bit the strong side. I guess empathy would be a better word.
Fair enough.
I don't know. I'm just saying, any sympathy you might feel for Serena at this point, it comes with this bitter baggage of
Oh yeah, definitely.
you deserve a lot of what you get, basically.
Yeah.
It's less that you feel sympathetic for her, because I don't know if I actually feel bad for her during this scene, because it's a lot of it's her fault. It's more that it's more fascinating to see her kind of finally realise this. It's a deep, it's a layered character. There's more to it than just she's a villain or she's like there's more to it than that. But I don't know if I go straight to sympathy.
I think the reason I'd say sympathy is, before last week she was quite content still. She may have had issues here or there, but she was kind of still mostly happy at home.
The one other scene that I'd say adds to this scene from a previous episode is the brunch discussion scene, if you remember that, with the handmaids. That kind of ties into this and her looking out and seeing what life used to be.
I think before last episode she was mostly content at home, whereas here she is, the sympathy becomes, it's not just that she's got the regret of what she's done, it's that I think she just wants to get away from her husband because she's terrified of him. It's like, I could just be out there away from him and safe. So I think that's where the sympathy comes from.
Okay, all right, I can guess you. I think it's one of the, and this is a testament to the show's writing. Honestly, is that it's one of the most layered, weird, like it's not just straight sympathy. I mean, you feel sympathy for like basically the entirety of the female population of the country in this show.
But some more than others.
Well, yeah, because we know June quite well and so on.
Well, I just mean, we feel sympathy for the handmaids more than the wives.
Oh, of course.
Even though the wives have their own issues, they don't have the position that they used to. They are still in a better position than.
Oh, sure, but that's kind of semantics of like who do we like sees like more hard done by. What I mean is though, is that you feel straight sympathy for the other characters. You can never feel straight sympathy for Serena. Serena is like this weird beast of like this like the emotions are too complex to just feel sympathy. And I think that's what's so impressive about it, is that it's like you feel a little bit of sympathy, but you feel guilty for feeling sympathy because of what she's done, because she is culpable in this world. And this episode plays with that. It plays with the back and forth in her head of like, I'm to blame for this. Maybe there's been mistakes, but she would never admit it. We talked last week about the false cost, fallacy of never wanting to admit it because we've dug in too deep. I have to just kind of keep going with what I've been saying because at this point I don't want to admit that I was wrong. And obviously in her world now, like admitting she was wrong is going to open the whole can of worms for her in terms of everything else. So you have that scene in the car. The other scene with her that I loved is a really simple little scene. It's when she runs into the girl and her mum at the elevator. And the girl's kind of staring at her. The mum clearly knows, if not who exactly she is by name, at least
what she is.
Yeah, what she is, the outfit, right? She understands she's away from Gilead. If not more than that. And the mum's like awkward, ashamed. She doesn't want to go in the elevator with her. She's like, no, we'll get the next one. And this is obviously awkward for Serena. But the part about it I love more than anything else is the little girl is looking at her, and she's wearing this outfit, so she's like, oh, you're a princess. And I love that as a sort of a meta critical commentary, because a princess is basically the stereotype of, okay, back in like any sort of old story, women couldn't be the heroes, women couldn't be this and that. They were the princesses who were there to be saved, right? That was the stereotypical. If writing hadn't progressed in the last couple of 100 years, that's all women in stories would still be. And there's a great parallel to draw from, what Serena's basically reverted women in society back to is basically the stereotype of what they're expected of. And that's what this little girl's the little girl doesn't realise she's making this meta commentary on it, but she kind of is by accident, because that's what she's seeing. She's saying, oh, you're a princess.
Definitely.
I thought that was really smart, so I have to give the show props for that. Of course, there's the quasi journalist who is there to kind of like try and talk her into like basically turning on Gilead.
Yeah, and this is where some of the politics gets really interesting for me because he says, "Oh, he's from America," and there's still an American government separate to Gilead.
Yeah, in a manner of speaking, I'm not sure to what extent though. Like, I'm not sure if he's saying it's more of a like. I don't want to say quite symbolic, but like that because in this episode as well we hear about how okay like the small American nation inside Canada are there and they're kind of like staying there.
Yeah,
Like to what point does he mean? Is there actually is there still like a leader of this government? Is there still like
I feel like there might be the way he was talking. He was talking about extradition. Okay, no, we can offer you safety. It seems like there is a government because Serena refers to it as a government as well.
But they don't seem to have any land, or at least if they do, there's not a lot left of it.
No, I don't think there's much. That's for sure. Where is it he mentions taking her to?
Was it? It wasn't Aruba. I'm thinking of Aruba because of Legends of Tomorrow, but it was like Aruba. It was somewhere sunny.
I think it was Hawaii, maybe somewhere in Hawaii.
I don't think it was Hawaii. I don't think it was. I think I'd recognized that.
No, I'm sure he said Honolulu, right?
Is that what he said?
I thought it was. Maybe I'm misremembering. I thought because I thought obviously okay that was part of America, so Gilead didn't take all of the American states
because it's separated by water.
Well, no, okay, that helps, but it made me wonder. Okay, if they've got that, have they got any other states that they kind of wrangled?
Well, we heard in season 1 that they were still fighting in Florida. There was like fighting going on in Florida.
Right, but I wasn't sure if that was more just a it was still Gilead, and there was like terrorist cells essentially.
Yeah, it could have been, yeah. I mean, it's hard to say. But no, like so she's like tempted. I mean, she doesn't say she's tempted. Obviously, she toes the line again. Full sunk cost fallacy, where she's like, no, that would be betraying my country. And of course, he has the little quips like, oh, I thought you already did. Which is a nice little stab at her. So that stuff was fascinating, and I think the scene later on when everything goes down, we'll talk about the plot. But when they're coming back to the plane and there's the angry protesters outside and they're throwing stuff at the window, this was a scene where I thought, hey, this is so much more effective because we saw this we already saw them go through this in the flashback. Yeah. This is like reminding them of hey, this is what it was like in the US before we got power, before we changed things. There was a nice reminder there, except this time Serena has a completely different perspective. This time Serena, while she might not admit it, deep down might want to go back to this world.
I think she does. I think she's starting to realise that, and I think that's why she takes the matchbox.
Yeah, and can we talk about the wonderfully insulting, but she only has herself to blame scene where she's handed the schedule for her, like, oh, you're here for a diplomatic visit. Here's a schedule, and it never even occurred to me that because obviously they know that okay, women in Gilead aren't allowed to read. It didn't even occur to me when she handed the schedule, and then you see it, and it's all pictures. It's like a little plate and knife and fork for this dinner time, and I'm like, this is. I mean, at least if someone handed us this, we'd be like, this is insulting. Why are you handing us a picture version?
Yeah, but she has to sit there and take it.
Yeah. And then she's talking to the woman who works there, and she's like, oh yeah, I like to read in my spare time. And she also lies about the knitting again. She's like, oh, I hear you like to knit. And she's like, oh, I do. I love to knit. And I'm like, no, you don't. You admitted last episode that you don't.
No, but she's playing the part of the good wife because she's terrified of getting beaten again.
I don't think it's just that.
I think that's part of it, though.
Oh, sure, it will definitely be in there, but I think it's... Like, as much as we're saying she's at the point now where she clearly is having the impulses inside, I don't think, even without the beating aspect from the husband, I don't think she would actually be ready to come out and say anything.
No, that's fair.
I think she would still be towing the company line, if you will.
No, maybe, yeah.
For now, at least. I mean, maybe there'll be more later. And
it's hard to tell, because this is almost her first taste of freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
If she hadn't just been beaten... and been, she's more terrified than she probably ever has been right now. Maybe she would have been a bit bolder and been a bit more assertive in herself.
That's the thing. I don't think she's ever been terrified before now.
No, exactly.
Because before, this was what she wanted. She agreed with she helped set up these rules. I think this is the first time she has felt genuinely terrified of the society she's created. I mean, she maybe had her small doubts when she had that conversation about brunch, and she's like, oh, yeah, there is things that we miss, and, even I miss, but, it's the sacrifices we make for Gilead, blah, 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 blah. So fascinating stuff. The Serena stuff in this was really good. If not even better than last week, and I can't believe I'm saying that because the stuff last week was so freaking good. But
Yeah, I think the Serena stuff in this episode my favorite part of the episode.
I have so much stuff that I like. This was
Oh no, it's a very good episode.
This
Don't
was a
get me wrong. I'm not
stonker of an
undermining
episode.
anything else. I'm just saying this
Yeah.
might be my favorite stuff.
Because June, and she's like full underrating again. Because at the start she's like trying to help herself. She's like she's basically just being like really darkly funny to try and like amuse herself. Where she's describing the house as a bed and breakfast. It's only 3 stars though. What was the line? The really dark line. It was like, oh, it's just some ceremonial rape required.
Yeah.
When you're here, really playing up that stuff.
I did think it got a little bit clunky towards the end as it went on. You know, as we moved past the bed and breakfast stuff, and we just kept going.
Oh,
I
sure.
thought the dialogue kind of just lost a little bit of steam.
But obviously, so everyone leaves, and she's got this great scene. She has a great scene with Rita actually, where she basically describes. She's like, oh, a godmother, and she's like, I know what a godmother is. Obviously, they don't have these here. No one gets baptized.
Yeah, I think we have to say for context, this is because Serena has told her that she's leaving.
Yeah, that's true.
As
yes,
soon as the baby is born, so she's like, okay, I'm not going to be there for it,
And
which
again,
is why she's looking for this figure.
Even in that scene, kind of like we were saying last week, the demeanor between June and Serena is completely different. Now, when June is talking to Serena, she's not trying. She doesn't hate her, at least not in the same way. She's not trying to get back to her and be disobedient at all costs because she thinks it's funny. She's speaking to Serena in a manner that's like she understands that she's also in fear, also in pain, and she actually wants to be empathetic towards her. Like when she responds to her in this episode, I don't get the biting, cutting, I hate you with my eyes kind of look. I get
not at all.
Yeah, I get more of a I understand you're going through this now, and
we're in this together on some level.
On some level, not completely, obviously,
not completely, obviously, but I think Serena reacts very she treats us very differently as she usually would. She's a lot softer. She sits down next to her. Whereas I feel like usually she stands to kind of tower over and make a show of the power.
But the decision she's making here and telling June that she's going to send her away as soon as the baby's born is clearly a decision she's making because it's almost like kind of like how with Waterford being tempted last season. I think she realizes that June, because she is a smart woman, because she's someone who almost like lights the fire of this is what we used to be. I think she also is scared of having June around for her own sake and just wants rid of her. She doesn't want to be tempted in that way.
No, exactly. She's scared of what she might inspire in her.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. But she has a scene with Rita, and she talks to Rita. She basically says, if this baby's going to grow up in this house, and she's kind of accepted at this point that she is going to be sent away, and there's nothing she can do about it, right? And obviously that's a big thing by the end of the episode. But she's like, I want someone in this house to be kind. I want this baby to have someone around who is not someone not to be scared of, someone who is kind. And she's basically asking Rita to be that. And Rita basically says, yeah, I'll do whatever I can.
She's like, well, there's only so much I can do, but I'll do my best.
Again, as she's leaving, she's like, drink your... Because obviously she got her up to the room by saying, give me some more milk when you get up. This is after the scene with Janine as well, where Janine gets hit in the face by the Guardian. And that's a really, and we've been expecting something like that for a while now. Ever since Janine get back.
As soon as she said "suck my dick," I'm like, okay, this is it.
Yeah, and that was something even Rita in that scene with June said that boy down there, the Guardian, is barely 20 years old, but he could do anything he wanted. He could break my jaw, and no one would ever say a word about it.
Yeah.
So really playing up some of those ideas, which by the way, very cheery, friendly with. The new wife. What's Eden?
Eden, yeah.
Yeah, took me a second. She's like, try the... And I guess it's because Eden's doing the perfect wife part. She's playing into the story society wants her to play. So, yeah, why not be friendly with her? But...
There's so many just interesting little fascinating bits here. Like, the fact that they're not baptized anymore, which I thought was interesting given that they are such a religious society. And it's clearly based on some branch of Christianity from what we've seen.
I mean, I guess it might be something to do with the fact that they take childhood so seriously in taking care of a child that there's no need for a godparent or anything equivalent, because if anything does happen to the parents, it's just, the state will immediately give it another set of parents or a school that will take care of the child.
No, I agree from that side of things,
Yeah.
but even just from the religious aspect of being baptized into a faith, is such a a staple concept of Christianity, and they're beyond that. They're like, no, we don't need to be baptized into it because everyone just is that faith.
Yeah, I guess that's them saying that you don't have to accept the faith because any other faith is wrong and incorrect. You just are it by default.
There's no choice in it.
Yeah.
It's just, no, this is what it is. I thought that was really interesting.
Not that babies have much of a choice in the whole process either, admittedly.
No, that's why you do. To be fair, that's why confirmation exists later. In theory, it doesn't really work out that way. They put you through that at like 10, and it's like, well, you don't really make your own choice at 10 either, do you?
Yeah, you're not asking those big questions at 10. I don't think. Come back at 16ish, maybe.
At 10, you still do what your parents tell you, right? When it comes to that, it's like you're at school and they go on, you're doing your confirmation.
I think 18th birthday.
You know what, Mom? I think no.
I think 18th birthday makes the most sense. That's when you're becoming an adult, making choices. Then.
Yeah, I think voting age, whatever that may be, wherever you are.
Sure. Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Just in line with the standards.
Yeah. Voting age, age of consent, all those things, all wrapped in that area. Yeah. Yes. Anyway. Yeah, same with Rita was very good. And again, even the way they're talking to each other, the way June has this little smirk after she says, make sure you drink your milk, and she's like, yeah. And again, it's just fantastic acting from Moss.
It is.
She has such a range on her with how she handles these things. But then, of course, she has a great scene with Lydia.
Yeah.
Where Lydia's doing her readings, checking her blood pressure, so on and so forth. And it's like, okay, everything's fine, measuring her stomach. Okay, we're in the home stretch now. We're coming up.
Yeah, and she kind of, they talk about how she was in a bit of trouble with Janine, and she's like, and Lydia's like, yeah, okay, well, you get a bit hormonal at this point. You're excused from a little bit here or there.
Yeah, because she was specifically referring to the fact that June kind of stood up for Janine when she shouldn't have. Yeah. But June, brings up, hey, were you ever a godmother, right? And Lydia's like, hey, well, I'll tolerate a little bit extra from a pregnant woman, but not, there's a line still.
Yeah, you're going too far here.
Yeah, you're bringing this stuff up, you shouldn't. And June...
I think it was, I will not tolerate insolence.
Yeah, there you go. But June then starts, she starts, like, pushing. She mentions, of course, but I think it's before that line, she mentions that Serena wants to send her away immediately. And Lydia clearly doesn't like it, but she's like, oh, that's her choice because she's the mother.
If she thinks that's what's best, she kind of gets to do that.
But then it got very real. Like, I almost felt like June just dropped the act, the I will obey your rules act, and just got real for a second and said, in my experience, any man who would hit a woman would probably also hit a child. And, Lydia, the way this scene was shot was great because it was this really harsh light coming in from the window, so it was this almost, like, I don't want to say halo, but it had that sort of beam of light around her face.
Yeah, it was too harsh to be a halo.
Yeah.
Because, it's a very soft light, a halo, right?
But I think that's kind of the point, is it's the harsh light of day. Like, her hearing this is like, what are you saying to me? Even though she's clear what she's saying to her.
Yeah.
And she's like, I wouldn't want this child to, be in any danger. It's like, I will never let anything happen to a child. And June sort of like, and again, it feels very real. And it's one of these things where even with Lydia, someone who is also relatively culpable and deplorable in what she enlists in, what she believes, but even she occasionally, there is kind of a human being in there somewhere.
Yeah, we've said a few times with Lydia that she's an easy character to read because what you see is what you get. She's very upfront about what her beliefs are. I don't feel like there's any of these hidden layers so much as to say is, whereas, when she genuinely always believes that she's doing the best. Whereas unlike, Serena, I'm not sure she ever did. She had whatever ideas she had.
Yeah, Serena almost strikes me as someone who, like, regardless, I mean, obviously her ideas are batshit insane, but it strikes me as someone who looked at something very scientifically and analytical and didn't actually stop to think about any of the nuance in any of it and just said, no, this will make sense because the math adds up, and didn't think about anything else.
Yeah, I don't feel like she believed in the idea, but I don't like on paper she believed in the math, but I don't think she believes in the cause. I don't know if she ever did. Not really.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
Whereas Lydia, I know, for a fact, no, she is doing this because she believes this is the best thing for the kids.
Yeah, and And she even shares, like, before she leaves, after this part of the conversation, she turns around and says, "Oh, I was a godmother once. My sister's child who died 4 days,
Yeah,
4 days old,
and it's
after
the way
they've
she
been born."
says it wasn't my fault, and I'm like, okay, that's why she's doing all this. That's why she's so protective of the kids. She feels guilty that she lost one.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously clearly a big motivation for her. But no, she opened up to June. There was this like human moment between them
There was, yeah.
where we dropped the bullshit of this world and they actually shared a bit of history that she's not supposed to. This is the first time I've ever seen Lydia like break a
Open
rule
up at all, yeah.
This was fascinating from that perspective, and it's almost like June genuinely being concerned for the child, because this wasn't June trying to get away with something. This wasn't anything else. June was genuinely concerned for the child, and Lydia saw that and respected it and agreed with it and opened up back. That's what this was.
I do get the feeling Lydia would defy Waterford if it meant, if she thought the baby was in harm, in danger from him. She would
I agree with that.
Something.
I agree with that, yeah.
So, you got to give her that at least. She really is that principled.
Yeah, well, we'll save June's last scene for the end of all the other story, because it's when everyone comes back. So back to Canada. Let's talk about Nick and what Nick gets up to. Because obviously, actually no, let's start with the other side. Let's start with Moira and Luke. Because so Waterford's coming to Canada. This is a big, heavily, it's on the news. Everyone's watching it. And of course, the previous line reminded us of this, but it's still a great moment when Moira says, she has that look in her eyes, like, oh yeah, she knows who that is. Like, she knows that is June's commander, and she knows his name, she knows all this stuff.
Yeah, because they're not saying their names publicly.
Yeah.
They're just delegates from Gilead.
Yeah. And she says that, and because they're all in the apartment watching it, and Luke just gets up and stands up, and he doesn't know what to do with himself. He's pacing, he's staring at the screen. Because this is the moment. He's looking at the man who is raping his wife. That is what he is looking at right now. And
it's a harsh reality for him. Because again, it's something that he's lived with for a while now, and he's known was happening, but he's never confronted the face.
I don't want to say suppressed it, but he's at least got to a point where he can deal with it. He's not having to think about it every day.
Yeah, he's managing on a day-to-day level.
So we cut to like them, at the embassy, and they're trying to talk. Like, hey, can we do something? And she's like, no, we can't. Like, this is still not our country. We can't actually do anything. There's a protest, make your voice heard. And when they arrive at the hotel, we see like everyone's holding up photos of like people they've lost. All the refugees are holding up photos or whatever. Or maybe Canadians are there as well. I mean, I assume they will be. I'm assuming there's people who care deeply about this, regardless of where they are.
I'm sure, yeah.
But Luke's there and he's got a photo of June, and I'm like, oh. Like, I didn't know he was going to do the whole thing where he came out, but I thought at the very least Nick's going to see the photo of June and know who that is, which would lead to him going and speaking to him at some point. But of course he actually, shouts out, "You raped my wife," and he jumps over, he tries to get to him. And I got to tell you, I don't think I've ever wanted anything in this show more than to Luke to get past those guards and get his hands on him.
Yeah, it would have been pretty satisfying.
And what I like about it is that, I don't want to say that the commander gives a shit, even though he does react to it. And obviously he's like, oh, there was a lot of misinformation, and he just kind of like fobs it off. But Serena, I think Serena, actually hearing the word rape, where she would never have called it that before, because she helped set this up.
Yeah.
I think her seeing June's husband act like this, and seeing how much this is hurting him, again, humanized the whole thing a bit for her.
It's a jolt of reality again, and this comes before she goes through the city, right?
Yeah. No, this is after she went through the city.
This is after she's gone through the city. Yeah. Okay, so this is this is there. You're just like, okay, it's that extra level of she got to the end of that journey and it was okay. There was the homeless people. It's fine. She's relaxing, and then it's like, nope, back into the reality.
Yeah, and if anything, you have to say, that this idea that she wants rid of June to it might just now to not feel guilt. Like, if she gets rid of June, she won't have to see her and feel guilty every time she does. That could be added on to the reason why she wants rid of her. Maybe that was already kind of there to extent, but this is certainly, brought that to the forefront. But Nick, of course, sees him, and he has his moment. And of course, I immediately think Nick's going to go speak to him. Right? Yeah, of course he does. And obviously, I remember he's got, in the previous one it's there as well, but he's got the letters, right? I'm like, oh, he's probably brought them. This is probably a good chance for him to, pass them on to someone in Canada.
It is, yeah.
And he goes to see Luke at the bar afterwards. And obviously Luke recognises him just from being at the car earlier on. And gets angry at first, wants them to get rid of, and he's like, no, like, I know June, I'm her friend. Watching his wording there very carefully. He does very notably lie when he tells the June's pregnant. Luke, of course, asks to Waterford, and I thought,
what does he go with this?
Yeah, is he going to be honest here? Because I don't know if that's a good idea right now.
That's I can see going either way. He could be
Nick, well.
he could be honest and be like, no, it was me. It was consensual. It wasn't a rape. So maybe he'd think that's better because. Maybe at that point, June, she didn't really know what had happened to Luke. She'd resigned to being there, and it's like, okay, at least I've got something.
I don't think
Luke might be able to cope with that.
I cannot blame Nick for not saying it, though.
No, absolutely
because
not.
You
this
would
was
not
the easy way out.
You would not know how he was going to react to that information. That is, and obviously it makes the whole love triangle here with them and Luke like such a weird thing because they all like she knows. Because by the point they hooked up properly, I'm pretty sure she already knew that Luke was fine. Because that was like mid-season 1 she found that out.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure of the timeline, but you could be right.
But yeah, that's all it is now, and they still have like, this close relationship with Nick, and they all know everything Luke doesn't know everything that's going on, but Nick and June know everything that's going on. But they're in this weird bubble where they know they can't get to anyone, so they're sort of finding strength in each other.
It's the best they've got.
Yeah, so like it's this weird thing where you can't blame them for what they're doing, but it is this really murky thing. And anyway, like I say, the show is really good at having these really complex relationships where it's not just the obvious cliche character A and cliche character B doing the cliche story. There's levels to it, and it makes it so much more fascinating. But he tells him that she's pregnant, gives him the letters. And Luke, gets angry. He goes to, he pushes him away. Get out of here now, get out of here now. And then he realizes what he's doing. Like, this is someone who's close by to her that he can go to ask some questions. And he kind of realizes this, and he rushes, oh, hey, wait, man, sorry, wait. Like, did you see my daughter? Is Hannah okay? And he doesn't know for sure. He doesn't know. And he asks some other things. But ultimately, he's like, he wants to pass the message back. Tell my wife that I love her. Tell her I'm not going to give up, and tell her that Moira got out. Moira's living with me. She's fine. She's good. Some core information. And then he thanks him because it ends with him thanking him, and it's like this thing. It's like this lifeline that he's not had before. This way to actually send a message to June for the first time in years.
Yeah. Something I loved about this scene is obviously June is the link between them. And the whole scene, the whole bar is bathed in this red light that is almost the exact shade of the Handmaid's red.
That's a nice touch, yeah.
And I thought, just to, she's ever present in this room, in this conversation.
Yeah, it's great, because I think seeing these two characters together, it's like, okay, Luke will have a lot of reasons to hate him as well, right? Obviously he's not as hateful as the Commander and a lot of Gilead, but Luke will have a lot of legitimate feelings of rage and jealousy, and no one would blame him for it, right? No one would.
No, of course not.
But we care about both of these characters. We see them both as like sort of heroes in the show, of characters who are doing noble things, and we want to see succeed in some way. And by the way, I'm still suspicious about Eden. Like that lingering shot after the cookies.
I thought I was get to that at the end of this plot.
Oh, sure, that's fine. But you got a lot to say about these cookies, I can tell.
No, not necessarily the cookies, just Eden in general.
Okay. So no, that was fast. And obviously he's got the letters, and we cut to Luke and Moira sitting at the table reading the letters, and he's like, oh man, I thought there'd be like something in there, like like he's reading them and they're reading like bits and pieces. Oh, this one's a Martha now, this one's that, blah blah blah. And so I thought this would be there'd be like a bomb in here we could use, and Moira looks at it and goes, no, this could explode. Like, and I kind of get, I kind of get what she meant by that. It's like, because up until now, we've every time there's been some sort of like foreign, like diplomat or discussion,
it's always been this really forced front.
Yes, it's always that we need to pretend that everything's much better than what they think. It's all false information. None of this is real.
It's all propaganda.
Yeah, it's all propaganda. And we just cut the next morning, like, Commander's ready to go for more rounds. Because there was actually one point when he came back at night in the hotel and he threw his jacket down. One of the casual things he said about the treaty was that, they're talking about, we might even get to, extradite some illegal, refugees.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a big deal if that goes anywhere.
It is, yeah.
But obviously, the whole thing falls through. Because let's not even forget, one of the guys who works at the embassy, or it's in the talks, was gay. He mentions that he'd visited his husband at one point.
Yeah, and he's very proud to be like, no, no, no. I'll visit again when I feel welcome.
Yeah.
When we feel welcome together.
Yeah, I thought Commander had like a real cheek saying, "Oh, I hope you can visit us again." That felt like a really weird.
Yeah, it's this great moment where this guy knows he can get away with this because he's here as a diplomat. He can't
Yeah,
just insult him. He can't say anything. No matter Watford's beliefs, he is there as a diplomat. He can't just insult him, and he knows that. They both know that.
yeah. But of course, when we see these characters again, it's the next morning, and they're like, "Hey, yeah, all talks are cancelled. We're not doing a thing. You're going straight to the airport. You're going straight to the plane. You're leaving." And he's like, why? He's like, "Well, last night someone leaked letters from women inside Gilead on the internet, and we've learned what you're doing to them." And it all leads, of course, to them getting into the limo, and there's like just this angry mob around them, and it's very reminiscent of that angry mob scene in the flashback when they were promoting her book. So, big thing. Well, it wasn't promoting the book. That's slightly incorrect. But they were touring after she wrote
Doing
the book.
the lecture
Yeah.
tour.
Um, and the thing I love about this scene is that Moira's in the crowd, and she goes up and taps the window, and like because there's a lot of people in the crowd, a lot of the women specifically, all say my name is whatever their name is, right?
Yes, some say her name is as well, clearly referring to relatives.
Yeah, of course. Obviously the women's names are all taken from them, especially if they're handmaids. They're just taken from them. And it's like, oh, my name is this, my name is that. And this moment with Moira plays so well. It plays so well because the commander knows who she is. They specifically pointed out when she was in the Jezebels that he had relations with her in some capacity. And you see his reaction when he sees her. And top of that, the whole thing with her still using the name Ruby sometimes. This was the conclusion to that. This was no, my name is Moira.
Yeah, I thought she says, it's like, no, my name's not Ruby or something to that effect after. I thought that was a little clunky and a touch overwritten that we didn't really need. I got, her going up with the sign was enough.
It didn't really bother me, but we didn't need it. I think her holding the sign and making the.
I thought it was a bit of pointless dialogue. I'm like, why is this here? It's not really adding anything for me.
I mean, if you're looking for a personal touch, it's more for her reassuring herself rather than it is for us. Even though technically it is for the audience, just to
maybe
drive the point home a little bit. But no, I thought it was a really well handled scene. Really. It felt like quite a big scene as well. You had a lot of extras. You had all these big shots outside with the cars going through the crowd. Spent a little bit more money on some of this stuff.
Yeah, not that the show ever feels cheap.
No, it doesn't. No, but just this was a bigger scope than usual. But
it's often very confined sets. A street here, a store there.
Absolutely. So, no, super cool stuff. And they come back, and of course, again, the mood when they get in the house that we get back is just super bitter, super cold. Commander, we're very lucky, we're very blessed because of X, Y, and Z, and Serena plays the part. She goes along with it, but again, it's because she goes back to her room. She still has the matchbook, but she also when she looks at her wardrobe, and it's just the green, outfit over and over again. There's this look in her face. There's this doubt, and she has to burn the matchbook because she doesn't want to be caught with it. She burns it, and it's just all very symbolic. But we actually end this episode in a fairly uplifting scene because Nick comes to June in the middle of the night, sneaking around. And by the way, I always say whenever one of these scenes starts when they're sneaking around like this, I always get really uneasy for the first
You're
little
just
chunk.
waiting for them to be caught.
I was expecting Eden to be looking through the window or something. The curtains were all drawn. I didn't notice that when the scene went on, but at first I was like, oh, she might be.
You're always just waiting for it.
Yeah, someone's going to catch them, and when that happens, we're in for dark times.
It's only a matter of time.
But of course, Nick tells her everything very slowly, but he goes through the beats of because the Moira thing comes kind of last, and I actually really liked the reaction to that. Because obviously at first he's shocked, that Luke's passed on this message of love, and so on, and then she finds out that Moira got out and that she's living with Luke, and she just kind of laughs and goes, "They're going to kill each other." Again, it felt very human. It felt very she knows those two so well. She knows how they'll be together, and that was a really sweet thing. And it's very touching. There's a kiss. He says, "I love you." You're just adding to the complex because they're talking about passing a message from her husband. in this very scene.
And the message is a message of love, and but then he's there, kind of just it almost feels a little bit selfish. Him kind of just reminding us, like, hey, yeah, I know I'm passing this message, but I'm right here.
Yeah, I mean, you could read it that way, which is a bit in the cynical side, admittedly. But coming from you, I'm not surprised. But no, I think there's a reason to suspect that, perhaps. I think there's also, the way I might read it is that, given how dark this world is, given how shitty and the lives we have to leave or have to lead in here, let's not like discount anything we have. And even though it kind of is against the rules we used to have, even though it's kind of weird, and even though it complexes things up, muddies things up, we still have this. Until we can somehow get you out of here, we have this.
Yeah.
This gives us something to fight for. It gives us some strength. And of course, he eventually leaves, and her narration's there, and she basically admits in the narration, I basically accepted that you were going to grow up in this house. And I called what the final line was going to be, where she just kind of stops. It's one of those things where she has that witty final line. She's like, well, F that, music kicks in, and it's like, okay, right. It's a lifeline. This, in a lot of ways, is, a fairly uplifting episode by the end of it, because Luke's had a lifeline, because obviously we see them in the apartment, they've got people over, and they all start singing America the Beautiful when they find out, Waterford's left Canadian airspace. Cheer. Everyone's happy. So no, and of course he's very, like, everyone else is singing, he's very kind of emotional, he's just kind of in the corner, because obviously he's pleased with what they've done,
but he can't celebrate because he's just sent her back. He sent him back to his wife.
Yes, exactly. So again, it's very complex, but it's a victory. There's no doubt about that. This was a victory for them. So, and again, that also gave Juniper some strength, because she didn't even realise that Nick was taking those letters to Canada.
No, of course.
Because she didn't even really give them. Like he took them when she was kind of delirious and like tried to burn them, but But they've accomplished something. Now the rest of the world knows what Gilead is like, knows the oppression that's within.
Yeah, and I think this is where Eden comes into play, because given some time, I think the commander might suspect, well, hang on, it would be a bit of a coincidence that it came as we were there, right?
Yeah, did someone that we went with do this?
Right, and Eden, I think twice in this episode, she mentions she's been in the store. She mentioned she was there, the other week, while all the stuff's been going on with the handmaids. She obviously knows about the letters. She saw them last week. She
knows about the letters being Nick's. What would be interesting, though, is how does she find out about the letters leaking out to the world? Because that's not something... Because as we know, they're not allowed to watch news or anything like that. They don't get to see any of that.
But I think this is a case of... She's in the house. Warford will just mention it around them. Him and Serena, they'll be mentioned while she's just around.
Yeah, maybe intentionally, maybe not intentionally.
Maybe intentionally to, like, okay, can we get any information on who this is?
But even if it isn't intentional, though, there is that moment from her where she'll hear this about letters, and then it'll click for her, and that'll be a thing. I also wonder, like, does Waterford ever suspect Serena?
I think he might, yeah. And I think, does he punish her just out of suspicion? I don't know if I'd put it past him after the way she's been, in his mind, the way she's been over the last little bit.
I could see it. So, no, like, because as much of a one as it is, I immediately thought, can this be traced back to him?
There's going to be repercussions for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think we might be losing Nick at the end of the season.
It wouldn't surprise me. He could be the big sacrifice. That could be the real depressing ending to this season. Is that Nick gets found out and it gets taken care of.
I could be wrong, but it kind of feels like it's lining up that way for me.
Yeah, unless we have some sort of unseen direction we're going to go in. Joe, I want to give this show credit for is that I feel like, and this was kind of similar last season, is that a lot of other shows we watch, we kind of like about halfway through, we can kind of see, okay, this is what the main structure of this season is. We can kind of see roughly where it's going to. We don't know how it's going to end, but we can kind of see. All right, this is what we're building up to.
These are the general character arcs. These are kind of where we expect the pieces to be in place.
And each episode of this is so good, but I still feel like I don't really know what the last 4 episodes are going to be.
No, we're like
Outside of the
through
birth, of course, that is going to be a big thing, but
of course, but like I said, we're like what 2/3, give or take, through this season now, and I'm going. Okay, maybe Nick doesn't make it at this point. I'm only just thinking that.
hell, after episode 2, we're still thinking the whole thing was going to be June on the run and getting to Canada, and
It could well have been, yeah.
yeah, but then it like no, she's coming back. Sorry, false
And
hope.
the thing is, do we have the birth soon? Because obviously we know she's close, or do we save that for the end of the season?
I think it'll be before the finale. I think we're so close now. Our bellies,
Yeah, I know.
ready to blow, as it were.
And I think that's interesting. Then is okay. So we're going to get a little bit of the aftermath of
I
what
think so.
happens next, and I think that'll be really fascinating because that's the bit that's the hardest to predict. Because until she gives birth, she's safe-ish.
Hmm.
She's got a protection, whereas as soon as she gives birth, that's it. She's vulnerable again.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how we're going to end this, but it's fascinating.
It is, yeah.
So no, this was one where so many of the little moments, particularly with Serena, built upon stuff we'd directly seen in like 2 or 3 other episodes building up to it, especially the last one, but even some of the smaller moments from a few episodes ago, including the flashbacks and stuff like that. The Moira moment played really well in terms of what we've seen her go through in this season so far. There was so much nice payoff to stuff, and obviously we're not done with the season yet, but there were so many emotional beats that really played well because they were so beautifully set up in previous episodes.
Yeah.
So I have to commend that. But like I say, there's so much complex emotions with some of the characters that, and the relationships are so complex that it's just there's no just feeling there's no concentrated single flavor of feeling, right? It's not just apple, banana, and peach. You're getting weird concoctions of them all with a bit of death thrown in, and you're feeling this mix of things. It's impressive, is what I'm saying.
It is. So. It is very impressive.
So enough of my death smoothie.
Interesting choice of flavors as well. Yeah, banana, apple, and peach.
I was just thinking of
not
fruit.
the first things that I've gone to.
And then I thought of something negative, and I thought of death.
You went, okay, here's a few random fruits that don't really go together, and then to the extreme with death.
All right, okay. Grapes, raspberries, and egg.
Yeah,
egg being the
that's
negative
it. Now
one.
you've ruined it, but you've ruined it in a reasonable way.
Okay. And I also just, for context, I actually hate egg in general. It's not just that I'd hate egg mixed with those fruit. I just hate egg. So for me, that's proper,
No, that's fair. But even if you like egg, it's no. Okay, those are not the ideal combination for a smoothie.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You don't put whipped cream on bacon.
No, you
for
don't.
a reason. They're both fantastic things, but you don't mix them.
Exactly.
I don't know why syrup in bacon works so well. It shouldn't, but it does.
I don't agree with that, but
oh, you're mad. Anyway, that has been Handmaid's Tale. What a point to end on
and
this
some
week.
food talk.
And some food talk. But that's been Handmaid's Tale. Fantastic episode as per usual. Often you'll get very few complaints in this show. You don't get a lot of them. So let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that usual stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mail_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. There's a bunch of bonuses over there for a lot of the things we do, and you get also a bunch of links, handy links for all the different shows and stuff, both on YouTube and the audio feeds. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?